This is the Peace Corps Jamaica Voices podcast. If you want to know more about Peace Corps and the work that they are doing here in Jamaica, join us on this amazing journey to learn more. Peace Corps Jamaica, world peace and friendship. Welcome. Good morning, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world listening to this wonderful podcast. This is the Peace Corps Jamaica Voices podcast. People, I'm telling you, this episode will be fantastic. This episode will be amazing. Right now, people, we're going to speak with Brad, and we also be speaking with one of his counterpart, Miss Reynolds, that work with him, the grade 1 teacher at Richmond Primary, and we also will be speaking with his host family, Mr. Palmer. And definitely, people, Brad has an amazing story. He's doing so much. I'm so excited to let you guys hear about his story. I'm so excited to share it with you guys. So without further ado, let us go on this journey. And we are leaving from Kingston to St. Mary and back. Hey listeners, we are on our way to go to the Peace Corps office at the moment, and we are going to meet up with the education director to go to St. Mary today. Yes, people, we're going to have a wonderful journey today. We are going to St. Mary to speak with Brad, so stick and stay. We are currently on Mountain View Road going to New Kingston at the Peace Corps office. So we're now at the Peace Corps office, about to drive out of the parking lot going to St. Mary's. So definitely it will be a wonderful journey today. So stick and stay, as I said before, and definitely we'll be having a wonderful interview with Brad today.
Yes, but
and listeners, we have just arrived at Richmond Primary in St. Mary, where we'll be meeting Brad, who will be on our episode today. Definitely. The school is beautiful. Yes.
So,
looking forward to have a great interview.
I was just feeling a little bit
world peace and friendship. Hi, Miss Riley.
Hi.
How has it been having a volunteer, a Peace Corps volunteer here at Richmond Primary?
Having a Peace Corps volunteer here, especially in the area of reading, has made things lighter and better for teachers. For me, when I had my grade 1 students, yes, it has been a good experience, great experience. And in terms of being a parent of the school as well,
yes,
I have a son that is in Mr. Nelson's class, and trust me, I've seen great improvement. And I'll always say to Mr. Nelson, continue doing what you're doing with him. Overall, Mr. Nelson is an involved person. He doesn't just sit back and be laid back and say, well, nobody asked me to do this or anything. He tends to try to reach out. When we're doing activities, for instance, we have at sports the other day, he was so active in helping the students. And he just came here, football, he's involved in able to train those students as well. And even rugby, because my son is so interested in playing the rugby. Hey, everybody wants to play with Mr. Nelson's rugby.
Alright, well, beautiful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And today, as I said, people, the journey from Kingston to St. Mary today, and definitely it was a wonderful ride. It has been raining since morning, you know. St. Mary is the home of Barry Salmon, I would call him the king of Lovers Rock here in Jamaica. And this is where Ian Fleming wrote all his James Bond book, right here in this parish. And later on, I guess I can give you a bit more history on St. Mary. But without further ado, we're going to speak to Mr. Brad Nelson today. Good day, Brad. What's up? Welcome to Peace Corps Jamaica Voices podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
2 years come, basically.
Jamaica, there's something about Jamaica, like,
so quick.
I love
and
it. Like, it gets under my
tell us about,
really kind of
before we get into talking about your journey here and stuff, tell us about who is Brad, where are you from, you know, in terms of your occupation and all those stuff.
Yeah, man, I come from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm 34 years old.
Yeah.
I was in the field of education before I came here. I was a high school teacher for 4 years. I taught American history, and I coached basketball and football. And then before that, I worked at elementary school where I taught language arts and social studies. So I've been involved in sports, been involved in education now for a while. And so the opportunity came up to join the Peace Corps. It's something that I had to jump at, something that I always wanted to do. And man, it's really lived up to the expectations. It's gone, far beyond what I thought the experience would bring me.
Okay, all right then. So since you touch on that, then, so tell us about working here in Jamaica versus working in the US. What is that like for you?
I think it's just it takes some adaptability out here. Things don't always operate the way that I expect them to operate.
Yes.
It takes a little bit of flexibility in your job when you go about things with one approach and you realize that approach isn't going to work. You have to adjust.
Yes.
And so I think just dealing with that unstructuredness sometimes and the unexpected curveballs that come at you in Jamaica has made me a better educator. It's made me a better person. I think both are unique in their own ways, teaching in America and teaching in Jamaica. But for me personally, teaching, the young age kids in the primary schools out here in Jamaica, especially in rural Jamaica, with the patois and teaching grade 1 students how to read from the ground up is something new to me. And something that, again, it's been a challenge, but it's also been very rewarding.
So as I mentioned about challenges, so what would you say was the most challenging part of your service?
Wow. The most challenging part of my service, I think that there's been multiple things that I anticipated being a challenge out here that over time ended up not being. I got very lucky with my host family that I was put in, that they were able to introduce me to my community. I was able to make friends fairly easily in Jamaica. But as far as challenges in the school system goes, I think it's just the teaching with the noise, teaching with the constant distractions going on with the classrooms next to you, and having to be moved around different locations. In my time here, we faced 2 separate hurricanes in Jamaica that consolidated us volunteers, and after those hurricanes, having to deal with some changes. After Hurricane Beryl, we were without power for about a month and a half. I had to teach summer school following that summer with really no resources, no light, no electricity, no fans. We had to just kind of make do with what we had.
Yes.
Most recently with Hurricane Melissa, that uncertainty of not being able to return back to your community and not knowing, if everybody, that you have grown to love and grown to know was okay, not having service, and just having that anxiety about the storms and the challenges the storms brought has probably been my number one challenge here.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna get into that a bit more later on in terms of the hurricanes. But in terms of integrating, how did you find it? You mentioned about your host family, and I wanted to speak about what was the role the host family played in you integrated in your community here in Richmond.
Yeah, so I love my community in Richmond. The people here have grown to be family. I live with a retired farmer by the name of Philip Palmer. He's somebody that was a great help to me initially when I got here. He's very involved in the community of Richmond, and I spent the first month or so with him. He just introducing me to everybody. And it's one thing that I kind of went into Peace Corps with the mindset of, I'm just going to smile at everybody. I'm going to be as friendly as I can at first and try to make relationships, because I know those relationships are going to lead to some of my work being impactful. And so he kind of introduced me to some people early on, and there was a couple girls in my community that were my age that have ties to Philip, that Philip introduced me to, and they kind of became my community liaisons in a way, where they were my first friends, and those friends introduced me to new friends, and they took me different places. And so I think it was important for me to be seen outside of just school. Early on, when I would go to these social events in Richmond and people would see me on the road, and I felt like that made me more approachable, and people could trust me a little bit more, and people came up and started to talk to me. So really just developing those relationships early on through my host family has made a huge impact when it comes to integration in my community.
Okay, well that's wonderful to hear that, because you said something earlier in terms of seeing more and for a person to basically trust you more and stuff, because generally persons have a thing to say that when they see a white person, a Caucasian person around here, it's a CIA or something like that. Have anyone approached you with that before?
Yeah, of course. I've been hit a couple times when you have those bar conversations with people once they walk in and say, "Man, what's this man doing in Richmond?" And I always tell them my response to them when they accuse me of being a CIA agent, I say, "You're under arrest. Put your hands behind your back." And that usually gets a laugh, and then the ice is broken. And I say, "Man, if I'm a CIA agent, I don't think I'm going to be at this small bar in Richmond." But every now and then, especially when you get people that are a new face, they're not used to walking in and seeing me. I've been hit with the, "Man, what is a white person doing in Richmond? I haven't seen a white person walking through Richmond here." They're just a little bit confused. They want to know what I'm doing here. And then once I kind of get to talking to them, man, it breaks that tension a little bit. But definitely initially when people first see me, I've had some interactions where people have been surprised to stumble upon me in the community.
Okay, well, great. All right, cool. And you also mentioned earlier, like I said, you used to coach football back home, and I get to understand that you brought that love of playing football here. American football?
Yeah, not rugby. People refer to it as rugby out here, but American football.
Yeah, American football, yes, NFL. I want to talk to you about that. Tell me how you work that into your service.
Yeah, I came to Peace Corps completely thinking that football wasn't going to be a part of my life in the next 2 years, and I was on a Zoom call recruiting the next set of Peace Corps Jamaica volunteers. I was asked by Peace Corps staff to kind of give a little bit of my background, and when I was going over my background, I said that I was a former coach, and on the call there was a returned Peace Corps volunteer by the name of Don Holly that he had met somebody during his time here that was involved on the west side of the island with American football, and he kind of told me to reach out to this person, and so I reached out to them, and through collaboration with his league, the National Tackle Football Association, we decided that we wanted to start American football in St. Mary, and so we secured donations from high schools overseas, and we brought that equipment down to St. Mary, and I had to pitch to the two high schools that are closest to my site the idea of taking on a new sport and a new challenge, and it took convincing because people in Jamaica aren't really familiar with the game that much, and so you explain some of the benefits of the game, you explain what this can maybe do for some of the young men in the community and their students, and I got them to pull the trigger on it and put their trust in me, and we combined St. Mary Technical High School and St. Mary High into a St. Mary United team, where it started off my first practice, I had 2 players show up, and I said, "Man, this isn't going to work. I don't know if this is going to last." And then those 2 players told 2 players, and they told people, and then before you know it, we ran out of equipment. We had 60+ boys on our team.
Wow.
And that's great. Yeah, it was really just from the grassroots, of just word of mouth, and those boys started enjoying their time, and they told more people to join, and people, really what happens when we brought the equipment to campus, and I was fitting the people up with the pads and the helmets, I could see everybody walking by with their eyes getting big, wondering, "Hey, what's going on? Like, this is something new, it's something exciting." We hosted all-star games in Jamaica. We had players receive scholarships in the U.S. to play. And so I think when they start to see some of these benefits, a lot of these boys in rural St. Mary have aspirations to leave St. Mary one day and to go see the world and go do different things. And with the American football, that's an experience that we've been able to give. I know one of the coolest memories from my team is going to Manchester. We went to play a team in Mandeville, and seeing the boys on the bus ride, just taken back by how big the houses are, and everybody taking their phones out and taking pictures. And one of the best things about sports is, yes, the sport is fun, but just being on the bus ride, making friendships with your peers, and having these memories that are going to last a lifetime. The wins and losses are something, but the thing that's going to stick with these guys is the experience that they have during high school, the friendships that they form with their teammates, and just the invaluable skills that football can bring, like teamwork and resilience and leadership. And I've really seen this team grow from a bunch of boys that know absolutely nothing about the sport to really learning a lot, and we actually finished 3rd place in the league this past season.
Okay, so who are playing in this league with you guys? Which one is school?
So we played Monroe College, which Monroe College is I guess they have a lot more resources than St. Mary Technical and some of these schools out here. And so played Monroe College, D. Carteret College, Mayday's involved with it. They have Mona High School. So it's Newell. It's a lot of teams on the west side, and St. Elizabeth and Manchester has a lot of teams in Kingston. Those are primarily where these teams come from.
All right. So definitely, you said this has been one of your highlights for your last 2 years for you.
Definitely, yeah. It's just something that, personally, I love football. I love coaching. I love being around, young men, and I love sports. And it's something that allows you to be involved in a student's life outside of school, which I think that, some of the greatest relationships and lessons to be learned happen outside of the classroom. And then me being a high school teacher back home, I really enjoy getting to work in the secondary schools, and this has provided me an opportunity to work in the secondary schools and have that be an aspect of my service. So it's, definitely been one of my highlights.
Alright, so Brad, we're going to take a walk up to your house, speak with your host father, or host parent, and we speak more about hurricanes and how did that impact your service and such. So let us take a walk.
World peace and friendship.
Alright, so listeners, we are now at Zion Hill. That's correct, Brad? Zion Hill, right?
Yeah, Zion Hill in Richmond, St. Mary.
Alright, so we're not at Zion in Richmond, St. Mary. This is where Brad resides, and we're at his host family property at the moment. Good day, Mr. Palmer. Welcome. I'm just here to ask you a few questions about Brad. How has it been having Brad, as a host family, having someone different in terms of a different country coming to live with you for 2 years? How has that experience been for you?
Great. And regardless, it's not the first Peace Corps we've been having.
Okay.
I mean, it was the Peace Corps from a kid.
Wow.
Yeah, man, long.
So, how has that? Tell me about that experience. You say from a kid, so that means that your parents were.
Yes, we had Peace Corps we grew up with Peace Corps.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so
and this is go as far back as when?
Years, man. I was born in 60. My husband was born in 1960. And said 10 years after that.
So they're from the 70s, come on.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
All along.
So how was that for you in terms of, how was that make you different in terms of your outlook on life? Growing up
different experience, meeting different people, different culture, sharing those culture with each other, interested. I get so interested every time.
Alright, and so from your parents and you are a host family. And you have continued that role.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm really happy to hear that. So, in terms of Brad, I've spoken to him, doing a lot in the community. How do the people in the community respond to him?
Very respectful. Appreciated everything that he does. Yeah. Get on well with them.
Okay. Well, that's great. Happy to hear that. And he has been a great fitting with the family.
The whole family. You leave for Kingston some of the time, go with the girls, with the sisters and so on. Yeah, my nieces and they, man.
They take good care of him.
Yes, man.
Beautiful.
Communicate with him in every way. Every minute you hear a call, Brad. Why are you not coming to Kingston? Okay. A party to go and get
comfort. Okay. Alright, so thank you very much, Mr. Palmer.
Anytime.
Yeah, man, big up yourself, man. Yes, thank you for hosting Peace Corps volunteers for more than 50 years now?
Of course.
So thank you so much for you and your family.
Yes, man.
We do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Connections through life. Connections through life. And people, as I said to you before, St. Mary have a lot of history. And give you some more music history, and the music, man. Yes. So you know that Tanya Stevenson grew up right around this area, and Tanya Stevenson is one of Jamaica's veteran, I would say, in terms of female reggae / dancehall artists. She's also from this community as well. Yes, but as I was saying to you earlier, your service was marred by 2 hurricanes, right? Hurricane Beryl, Hurricane Melissa. Tell us about that experience and how it affected your service.
Wasn't expected when you sign up for Peace Corps that you're going to have not one major hurricane, but 2 major hurricanes hit. I think it helped me a little bit coming from Louisiana, that it wasn't my first major hurricane. I was part of Hurricane Katrina. We've had hurricanes just about every season come through Louisiana.
Yes.
So that had prepared me a little bit, as opposed to some of the volunteers that really didn't know what to expect when a hurricane was coming. So that kind of gave me a little bit of peace of mind, but then obviously when you start being part of a community in rural St. Mary, and you start thinking about some of the infrastructure, and you hear these news reports of devastating Category 5 winds, and it just brings a little bit of anxiety, brings a little bit of uneasiness, and so we were in consolidation. We're stuck in a hotel, so obviously it could have been a lot worse. I think Peace Corps Jamaica did a really good job taking care of everybody, making sure that we were all accounted for. So I never really felt unsafe during it, and so that's a good thing. But then returning back to the community and seeing some of the damage that took place, that's when it starts to sink in. What actually occurred and how devastating it can be to parts of Jamaica.
Okay. So what role did you play, if any, in terms of the recovery within this community, or by extension within the Richmond area?
So primarily, I guess it would just be school. One thing about Peace Corps Jamaica is they did such a good job keeping us safe during the hurricane that there's all these steps that they had to follow through in order that your community had to be very safe and everything good before you were allowed to return. So by the time I got back to Richmond, a lot of the major damage was already cleaned up. A lot of the stuff was already kind of taken care of, but just little things as far as we had some damage to our fence at school that we took a weekend where we kind of went out there and kind of patched the fence together again, and just making sure everything was taken care of at our school as far as so we could reopen and have everything back to normal for the students as quickly as possible. But as far as the community goes, man, Jamaicans don't wait very long. As soon as there's things on the road, man, people are out fixing it. And
that's true.
So I'd like to be part of the recovery effort a little bit more, but I was in Kingston during a lot of the cleanup.
Okay, and understood, definitely understood. All right, so in terms of expectation, earlier in the interview you said your expectation coming to Jamaica, right? A lot of persons would say stuff about Jamaicans or maybe the Caribbean people, these Jamaican people, that what were your expectations coming here in Jamaica, and how was it different when you actually reach here in Jamaica, start to live here in Jamaica and experience it?
Yeah, I think for me, I had known one of my good friends from college that was a roommate of mine was from Jamaica, and so I had a little bit of connection with Jamaican people before. I had been to Jamaica before I signed up for Peace Corps, so I was somewhat familiar with the culture. But I think the expectation of just how you hear about. One of my concerns was all right, am I going to be able to fit in? Am I going to be an odd man out? Are they going to want me in the community? And one thing that surprised me is just how welcoming Jamaican people are, and how they go above and beyond to kind of make sure that I'm safe, make sure I'm accounted for, and so that's one of the things that kind of stood out to me initially. Is I was kind of going into Peace Corps unsure of the idea of, are they going to want to hang out with me? Is it going to be? Am I going to be accepted? Just seeing how welcoming and how approachable Jamaican people are in my community has been something that's been really good for me.
Okay, happy to hear that. So as I said about accepted and fitting, you contributed a lot, as one of your colleagues mentioned before. You did the roofing for the LinkedIn in terms of the infant department with the primary school, and then you do the NFL, the American football stuff. So tell us some more about the projects that you have undertaken outside of your teaching part of your service.
Yeah, so the football takes up a lot of my time as far as we run a tackle season for the boys, and then the flag season we also open up for the girls. So we have a girls team and we have a boys team. I got the opportunity to coach the girls national team in Jamaica.
And this is for what? Flag football?
For flag football, yeah. Okay. Flag football is a scholarship sport for girls in America, and also it's going to be in the next Summer Olympics in 2028. Flag football being an Olympic sport. So we're in the process of kind of fielding a national team for the boys. We're taking the national team for the girls to Los Angeles this summer to go down there and explore. So just dealing a lot with the football has been good to get them involved, get them opportunities that they didn't have before, especially have opportunities for the girls. locally, sometimes you'll find there's not many sports that's offered for the girls out here, besides track and
I would say, okay, so this was just
right.
a
And
couple
so
of weeks ago. But
football takes up a lot of time. In school, I'm
Lovers Leap.
part of I'm a co-moderator of the club, so I'm in the Scouts Club, I'm in the Environment Club, where we do different projects on club days during school. And then in the community, I work with a group called Rockman. It's the Richmond Outreach and Ministry Group that they host summer camp every summer, where we had about 70 youth from the community and communities around here, where we would work with the National Council Against Drug Abuse, where they would come down here and we put on different talks about building self-esteem and doing different activities with the kids. So that's been very rewarding. We also do different projects, such as we painted the post office this past summer, kind of give Richmond a little bit of life and making things look aesthetically a little bit better in the community. So partnering with groups like that, just to do whatever we can to kind of make our presence known here.
Okay, well, wow, and you've been doing a lot. So how do you find time to have a social life? Tell us about that. What is your social life looking like? Because with all of these things that you're doing, Brad, I don't know if social life is even possible. What do you do for fun? Talk to me about that. Will you take a break and just relaxing?
No, social life is easy out here. Like I said, I think that's just part. It's woven into the culture. A lot of the times it's it's just that's where everybody links up. Everybody links up. There's 2 major bars in Richmond. You go down there on any given night, and you're gonna see familiar faces, and you're gonna see the same people, and it just becomes a vibe and becomes a place that's a hangout. It's not even doesn't even have to be about the drinking, but you just go out there, you play dominoes. You sit under the mango tree out there and just kind of talk, catch up with people. And like I said, I've been lucky to make a couple friends in the community that have really taken me under their wing and brought me to different parties and things on the weekends. I've been able to explore different parts of Jamaica and kind of go to places like Portland and go, I like to travel, I like to see new things. You'll get a chance to kind of go outside and then, like yourself, I'm a big music fan. So anytime I can go watch a concert, you mentioned Barris Hammond from St. Mary. We've had opportunities to,
that's all for today.
Barris Hammond hosts some parties out here in St. Mary that we've had a chance to go out there and get to interact with some of these people and
YouTube channel, or
just kind of go with the flow, say yes more than you
and
say
don't
no.
forget to check out
When people
the
ask you, hey man, you
local
want to tag along?
website.
More
Keep
times than not,
spreading world
unless I
peace
got
and
something
friendship.
really going on, I'm
Until
gonna say
next
yes.
time,
Go for the
peace out.
experience. And,
This Peace Corps Jamaica
I like to go out and have fun
is
and blow some
produced and
steam off
hosted by
myself. So
Shavane
it's really
J.
easy to do that in
Graphics and
Jamaica.
text
Which is
by
right. That's,
Peace
I'm
Corps
happy to know
Jamaica
that you're
Social
having
Media
your
Committee
downtime as well.
and background
As
music
a
by
time that you are being
Rose.
very active, and I'm happy for that. There's a great balance there. That's beautiful. So in terms of that standout moment, I guess this would go towards maybe cultural activities. What thing fascinated you most here in Jamaica in terms of cultural experience? That would be like a shocker to you. If you want to compare between the US and Jamaica, or what's different about it here that you think maybe is cool and maybe it's not so cool?
One thing that I think is definitely different is just the celebration of life at a funeral in Jamaica is one thing that's just, man, it's so cool, and I wish the whole world celebrated it like Jamaica celebrates it. I've got an opportunity, when you live in a country for over 2 years, you get opportunities to go to funerals and doing the whole process, going to the 9-night and the setup, and really just, even the funeral when the line of the cars going down to the cemetery and people are raising up outside the windows and there's music going, and it's just, it's something that I think is more of a celebration.
Like a carnival.
Exactly, and so that's something that I didn't know about before I got here, and then obviously being here and seeing that firsthand has been really cool.
Okay, great. Happy to hear that, because that is something that a lot of persons talk about in terms of our culture, in terms of we celebrate death, like we're really celebrating the life of the person. So you really hear less, maybe in the church you'll maybe hear a little cry, but once you hit that road going back to the burial, it's different. The days building up to the burial, it's like parties, basically.
Yeah, it reminds me, there's actually some similarities to New Orleans culture in a way. New Orleans is really big on celebration as well. And we have this thing called Second Line, where you march down the street with your umbrellas and your handkerchiefs, and you're waving them in the crowd, and you're playing music, and there's some similarities when it comes to that.
Great.
Yeah.
What would you say you would miss most? Because you're coming to your closing out of your service at this time. One thing you say you would miss most when you leave Richmond.
I think it's that community aspect. There's, I'm from the capital city back home, and so when you live in a bigger city, sometimes you get kind of caught up in that day to day, and you pass by people and you're seeing new faces every day. I kind of miss that country life, which, you asked me 2 years ago if I would ever say that. I would probably never say that I would miss the country life. But it's something that you grow accustomed to, and I like seeing the same faces on a daily basis. I like waving to my neighbors and everybody knowing me by my name, and there's just there's something beneficial, I think, to living in a small, tight-knit community, which you can't find everywhere.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And so, if someone, word that you like to give to someone, basically to say, choose, if you're applying for Peace Corps, choose Jamaica. Why would you say to choose Jamaica? Why would you even choose Peace Corps?
It just felt like a lot of gentrifying.
Number one, I would say Peace Corps is something that's a unique opportunity you're not going to find anywhere else. It's a chance, you can visit countries, you can go, even stay in countries for lengths of time. Peace Corps allows you to be part of a family. It allows you to be part of a community. And when it comes to Jamaica, for all those reasons that I listed before, the Jamaican people are some of the best in the world when it comes to just being welcoming and accepting. And then it's fun, man. Like I said, you're on a tropical island, you're in a place that's a beautiful country, just nature-wise and scenery around you. There's anything you can look for: mountains, beaches, activities, social opportunities. And then also it's a country that really appreciates your service. Is what I found. It's people that have requested assistance for a reason, and when you get there, they're truly thankful for the work that you put in. You get an opportunity to form relationships with these people that hopefully are going to last a lifetime. And so, if I could do it over again, 1,000%, I would say Jamaica. I'm so glad that I applied to Jamaica. I'm so glad that everything worked out the way that it did.
Alright, thank you very much, Brad, and I'm really happy that you came here to Jamaica, and I definitely, as a Jamaican, I'm proud to know that you came here, you did so well, and you're leaving, I guess you would say, a lot of stuff for others to come and maybe continue, or others in the community to continue to grow, and especially where sport is concerned. You have done a great job where that is concerned. I hope you just keep in touch and just keep growing these, we say, unfamiliar sports in Jamaica. And I really appreciate your service. And thank you very much for speaking with me today on the Peace Corps Jamaica Voices podcast. And I wish you all the best going forward.
Of course, anytime.
World peace and friendship.
Alright, listeners, so we're heading back into Kingston now. So see you guys on the next episode.
A spice to living in Jamaica. There's this really fast, specific.
That's all for today, friends. Thanks for tuning in. Want to keep the conversation going? Leave a comment or post a question on our YouTube channel, or connect with us on Instagram and Facebook. Don't forget to check out our Peace Corps Jamaica local website. Let's keep spreading the world peace and friendship. Until next time, peace out. Produced and hosted by Shavane Daley. Graphics and text by Peace Corps Jamaica Social Media Committee. Background music by Damian Rose. A Peace Corps Jamaica production.